yourself?
I'm Dr.Faseeh Muhammad from Shifa International Hospital, Islamabad.
Right. So, how many wheelchair users do you come across on a daily or weekly basis who are a victim of accidents caused due to lack of improper infrastructure in our cities, and what injuries do they face commonly?
So basically, I come across 10 to 15 individuals daily. There must definitely be many more. So the most common problems that they face are fractures because of few things, which could be that either the ramps are too steep or the surfaces are not even. So patients fall or their legs get trapped or something like that. So these are the most common problems.
Right. In your interactions with patients who use wheelchairs, what feedback or specific challenges do they commonly share regarding navigating urban spaces, and how can these insights inform city planning initiatives?
The most common complaint is keeping them in consideration while making these infrastructures. And the only way for that to happen is, as we'll go along, most probably, we'll answer that. But in terms of navigating urban spaces, signposting is very simple. It could be very easy. Making wheelchairs being accessible is very easy. Keeping in consideration while making roads, for example, that individuals with wheelchairs might need to go through that lane. So keeping a separate lane for them, maybe. So these are a few things, and also making ramps in places, especially in crowded places, where one person is jumping from one sidewalk to another.
Right. So, in your opinion, what are the key challenges wheelchair users face in accessing healthcare facilities within urban environments?
So usually, the individuals who we see with wheelchairs, the most likely problem that they face is that the hospitals or the healthcare facilities, usually they are situated in very crowded places, and they require a lot of walking to that point. For example, from the bus stop till the main gate, there's like, usually they don't have wheelchairs, they don't have smooth surfaces, they don't have dedicated spots. So individuals with wheelchair usually need to be accompanied with their fellows who usually pick them up on their shoulders, or they need crutches. So it's a very long walk. I believe that this is the most common problem. And apart from that, even the buses that they come in usually, or the cars, they're not user friendly in that sense, in which they can themselves independently go up and down. So that's the thing.
So, are there specific design elements or features you believe should be prioritized to enhance accessibility for wheelchair users in city infrastructure?
Yes, basically a few things that I've just said. Those are like keeping ramps even in from when jumping from one pedestrian sidewalk to another, making sure that the ramps are, they're user friendly. They could have a few twists and turns, and that I don't think that's a problem. The buses that they come in, they could have electronic ramps or something. Apart from that, accessibility of wheelchairs, at least in every major crowded place, there could be stands where wheelchairs are available. Individuals could just drop down a penny or something. They could use the wheelchair for as long as they want.
Right. So, how can collaboration between healthcare professionals and city planners contribute to creating more inclusive environments for individuals with mobility challenges?
The first most important way is awareness and sympathy, in my perspective, because we have exposure to such patients and we see them every single day. Keeping them in consideration or having that amount of sympathy for them is natural in that regard. But for individuals who rarely come across or see these elements, so it's very difficult for them to prioritize these things on a daily basis. So the first thing is exposure, I would second is awareness sessions in which doctors and or the healthcare facility would plan out activities in different places and collaborate with them in the sense of workshops or these things which actually or another way could be by how do we say volunteer working.
Right.
So healthcare facilities could work with companies and dedicate specific time of the year where their staff just helps in some volunteer stuff.
Right. So, are there successful examples or models from other cities that you believe could be applied to enhance accessibility for wheelchair users in our local context?
Basically, yes. Because I work with the National Institute of Special Education, the infrastructures that are under them, basically, they are very user friendly for individuals with any disability of any form. So if we are looking in Pakistan, basically that's one of the best places that we can look towards. But there are not many wonderful examples that I would say. I haven't been able to come across many examples. Most probably there are, but when we travel to different countries, especially for example, you can say the first world countries. So every institute or every building plan or every okay, so from where this starts, every individual from even the schools needs to dedicate some time in volunteer works. So what that does is at the back of their mind, no matter whichever field that they go into, they have that concept of being making an environment comfortable for every sort of individual. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we see dedicated sidewalks for individuals with disabilities, especially those with wheelchairs. And the sidewalks, basically, or the infrastructure, are usually on ground level. They don't have any extra bumps or any extra levels, I would say. So it's very hard to find examples here, if that's okay.
So, in your experience, what role does awareness and education play in promoting accessibility for wheelchair users, both in the healthcare settings and the broader community?
Knowledge, awareness always benefits. Ignorance will always harm, because if we ever see that there's a place where there's decreased amount of awareness or decreased amount of knowledge, then we do find ignorance along with that. So I think that's something that's inbuilt in the community, or that's worked on from the very start. So it plays a huge role, definitely a huge role. Being aware of something, the mind does not know what the eyes do not see. So that's the concept, basically. So it does play a huge role. It definitely should.
Okay, so, lastly, from a medical perspective, what recommendations would you make to policymakers to improve accessibility for wheelchair users in urban settings?
From a medical perspective, the first would be familiarizing themselves, coming out of the, just paying a visit. Really helps, broadens the mind. And this is not only for individuals who are in the infrastructure facility, it's for basically everybody. So then we realize, okay, how we need to make a comfortable environment, unless we know what that environment consists of. So that's my first recommendation to everybody. Just be aware of others. Do consider. And the second thing is, if the first thing is basically making things accessible, right? So accessibility comes from making sure that the wheelchairs are present. That could be one thing. Making sure that the platform is level. That could be another. Making sure if they do make the ramps, not make it very steep so that people slide, right? So that's another thing. And basically it comes down to the core of being aware. So I can